They didn't ask. They didn't even suggest it. My mother simply placed the ultrasound photo on the dinner table, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "You'll need to move your desk into the living room. The baby needs your bedroom by October." In that moment, I wasn't a 24-year-old woman with a career and a life. I was just a spare part in my sister's machinery. Growing up, my sister Elena was the miracle. Not because of any medical reason, but because she was loud, blonde, and possessed an uncanny ability to make everyone around her feel like a supporting character in her biopic. I, on the other hand, was Maya, the quiet one, the reliable one, the one who didn't mind giving up her toys, her birthdays, and eventually, her soul. By the time Elena was 26, she had 3 children under the age of 5. She didn't have a job, and her husband Marcus spent more time finding himself at the local pub than he did changing diapers. Naturally, my parents, Sarah and David, became the unofficial sponsors of Elena's chaotic life. I worked from home as a freelance digital architect. It was a high-stress, high-reward job that required silence and precision. I paid my parents rent. Well, I thought it was rent. It turned out I was just subsidizing the Elena Fund. The night of the announcement started like any other Sunday dinner. The house smelled of roast chicken and damp diapers. Elena was glowing, which usually meant she'd either bought something expensive or was about to drop a bombshell. "We have news," Elena squealed, clutching her stomach. Marcus gave a lazy thumbs up from the couch. My mother burst into tears of joy. "Another blessing. Oh, Elena." I forced a smile. "Congrats, Elena. Truly." Then came the cold water. My father cleared his throat. "Now, Maya, we've been talking. With 4 kids, Elena and Marcus can't stay in that cramped apartment. They're moving back here. We're going to convert the basement for them." "Okay," I said slowly. "That's crowded, but okay." "And," my mother added, her voice dropping the sweetness, "since you're here all day just on your computer, you'll be taking over the primary childcare. We're getting older, and Elena needs to rest during this pregnancy. Your family. It's the least you can do after we've let you stay here." I felt the blood drain from my face. The least I can do? I pay $2,000 a month in rent, Mom. I work 60 hours a week. I'm not a babysitter. The silence that followed was deafening. Elena's lower lip began to tremble, her signature move. "So my baby doesn't matter to you? You're so selfish, Maya. All you care about is your stupid blueprints." "It's settled," my father said, his voice booming. "Family helps family. If you can't do that, maybe you don't belong in this family." I said no. I said it firmly, calmly, and repeatedly. I thought if I stood my ground, they would respect my boundaries. I was wrong. The next Monday, I woke up to the sound of screaming. Not 1 child, but 3. My parents had given Elena a key. She had dropped the kids off at 7 a.m. and left a note. "Had a prenatal appointment. Milk is in the bag. See you at 5. I walked into the kitchen to find my 3-year-old nephew drawing on my $3,000 work monitor with a permanent marker. My parents were nowhere to be found. They had conveniently gone on a celebratory weekend trip to the coast. I cleaned the monitor, sobbing with rage. When I tried to call my mother, she didn't pick up. When I called Elena, she sent me to voicemail with a text. "Don't be dramatic. They're your niece and nephews. Love them a little." But the true betrayal came that evening. I found my father in the garage. "Dad, I can't work like this. I lost a client today because I couldn't get on a Zoom call with a screaming toddler in my lap." He didn't look up from his workbench. "Then get a different job, or work at night. Your sister is bringing life into this world, Maya. You're just drawing boxes. If you don't like the rules, leave. But remember, if you walk out now, don't expect a dime from the inheritance. We're changing the will tomorrow to put everything in a trust for Elena's children. Since you're so independent, you clearly don't need us." I was being evicted from my own family because I wouldn't be an unpaid servant. The transformation. I spent that night in a cheap motel, my heart feeling like it had been run through a shredder. I looked at my bank account. For 3 years, I had been paying rent to my parents. I did a quick calculation. I had given them nearly $75,000. I checked the property records, something I should have done years ago. My eyes widened. The house wasn't just in my father's name. My grandmother, who adored me, had left a life estate clause when she passed. The house belonged to the estate, and as the eldest grandchild who had been maintaining the property, via my rent, I had legal leverage they didn't even realize existed. But I didn't want the house. I wanted them to feel the weight of their own choices. I went back the next day. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I walked in, smiled at Elena, and said, "You're right. Family is everything. I'm sorry I was so selfish. I'll help." Elena hugged me, smelling of entitlement and cheap perfume. "I knew you'd see sense, Maya." They thought they had broken me. They had no idea I was just beginning to build. For the next 3 months, I was the perfect daughter. I watched the kids, I cooked the meals, I even helped Elena pick out nursery colors. But while they watched TV in the evenings, I was working. I wasn't just doing my day job, I was auditing. I discovered that my father hadn't been paying the property taxes with my rent. He had been funneling that money into Marcus's business ventures, which were actually just mounting gambling debts. The house had a tax lien on it, a big one. I also helped Elena with her paperwork. She wanted to apply for a massive government grant for struggling families. She was too lazy to do the math, so I did it for her. I ensured every single error in her application was a federal red flag. I didn't forge anything, I just made sure her creative accounting was impossible to ignore. Finally, I spoke to the one person they had forgotten, Marcus's mistress. Finding her wasn't hard. Marcus wasn't a criminal mastermind, he was a cliché. He'd been seeing a woman named Clara for 2 years. I tracked her down, sat her down for coffee, and showed her Elena's baby number 4 announcement. Clara's face went pale. He told me he was divorced. He told me he was staying at his parents' house because of the settlement. I handed her my card. He's about to have a very expensive 4th child. Unless, of course, you want to help me ensure he finally takes responsibility. The day of the gender reveal party was the chosen date. My parents had invited the whole neighborhood. They wanted to show off their perfect, growing family. The backyard was decked out in pink and blue. Elena was wearing a white dress, looking like a saint. "All right, everyone," my father shouted, holding a giant black balloon. "Let's see what the next generation holds." He handed the pin to Elena. She popped it. But instead of pink or blue confetti, something else fluttered out. Dozens of small, brightly colored slips of paper. The guests leaned in, picking them up. My mother grabbed one. Her face turned gray. It wasn't confetti. They were photocopies of Marcus's bank statements showing thousands of dollars spent at the Diamond Club and Golden Stakes Casino. Another guest picked up a sheet. It was a printout of a text thread between Marcus and Clara, dated from the night Elena found out she was pregnant. "What is this?" Elena shrieked, looking at Marcus. "Wait, there's more," I said, stepping onto the patio with a megaphone I'd hidden in the bushes. I pointed to the driveway. 2 black SUVs had just pulled up. "Those are representatives from the state revenue office. It turns out, Dad, that rent money you were taking from me wasn't going to the taxes. And Elena, those grants you signed for? The auditors are here to discuss the discrepancies in your income reporting." The gender reveal turned into a crime scene. As the chaos erupted, Elena screaming at Marcus, Marcus trying to bolt, and my father being cornered by the tax agents, my mother ran over to me, her eyes wild with fury. "You ruined us. You're our daughter. Why would you do this?" I looked at her, truly seeing her for the first time. "I stopped being your daughter when you turned me into a servant. Oh, and Mom, one more thing." I pulled a legal document from my pocket. "You told me if I left, I wouldn't get the inheritance. But Grandma was smarter than you. She knew you and Dad were reckless. The house? It's not in a trust for Elena's kids. Because of the unpaid taxes and the specific waste clause in the life estate, the ownership has defaulted to the secondary beneficiary who has been paying the upkeep." I smiled. Me. The silence that hit the backyard was more satisfying than any scream. "You have 30 days to vacate," I said quietly. "All of you. Elena, I've already called CPS regarding the environment Marcus's gambling debts have created. They'll be doing a home visit at your new, much smaller apartment. I didn't stay to watch them pack. I didn't need to. I sold the house 2 weeks later to a developer who turned it into a community garden and library, a place where people actually go to learn and grow, rather than stifle and take. Elena and Marcus moved into a 2-bedroom trailer. Marcus is working 2 jobs to pay off the state and the child support Clara is now suing him for. Yes, she was pregnant too. My parents are living in a retirement village, funded by the very small amount of money I left them from the house sale. Just enough to survive, but not enough to control anyone ever again. People ask me if I feel guilty. They say, "But they're your family." I just tell them what my father told me that Sunday night. Family helps family, and I help them finally face the truth. Blood makes you related, but loyalty makes you family. I simply chose to stop bleeding for people who were never thirsty for anything but my soul.